This episode is in partnership with Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine, a Medium publication, is devoted to sharing in depth and interesting interviews featuring people who are authorities in business, pop culture, wellness, social impact, and tech. There are so many interesting things about today's guest, Jamie Catto.
Yes, he's a life coach, but his goal is to help us all remove our masks and discover authenticity.
Jamie, welcome to Believe in People.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me all the way across the sea.
Yes, you are speaking to us from the UK today. I'm just wondering if people post-COVID, post-Brexit, dare I say, post-Tories, dare I say, in the midst of an American election campaign, are people having difficulty perhaps finding their balance in this world, and your tips on how to help them?
I think the most important thing, only because I'm projecting, because it's the most important thing to me, so I'm going to decide it's the most important thing for everybody, is to have as much time to yourself, not doing stuff you don't want to do, as you possibly can before you die. That's one of my main selfish driving forces. That's what money is to me, is the choice to do whatever I want rather than have to do something I may not want to do, and how much of my time is taken up with that. And as we now live in a culture where, due to the worship of quick money, I don't know if you read the Old Testament, but we're living in the era of the golden calf. When Moses went to the top and they all started worshiping the golden calf like pagan freaks and melting down their gold and dancing around it. We're kind of living in that era that it's the worship of quick money, no matter what. Corporations have more rights than actual people. So while that's going on, there's less and less money for people to feel the sense of ease that the hospital is staffed by good people, and that it's not being shut down, and that I'm going to have enough of good, food. Preferably, could be amazing if I could have free access to like organic food in my street, which many people in the world do have, but just not far from the majority. If we could really, really feel our base chakra needs or our survival needs were really much more covered than they feel, I think there's an amazing sort of playground of illumination and intimacy and connection and lyricism and academic extraordinary invention available to us. And sadly, the unregulated capitalism has led to a thing where there are great big piles of money, but they're not kind of moving around. Certain people have got this many billion or that many billion. So it's not in circulation. So there's actually much less money. It feels like there's scarcity, but there's the same fields, the same cows, the same wheat, the same workforce, it's the same people. It's not a population thing. It's because so much of the money's gone into piles that aren't moving, just so someone can say, I've got 20 bill or I've got. And sadly, that means there's less moving around, and therefore less for hospitals, less for schools, less for elders being looked after, less for grants for young artists to explore their blah, blah, blah. There's just less being shared around. And we need to get it to a stage where we pull pop wherever the bubble is, or like Luke Skywalker at the beginning of Star Wars fires that perfect bullet right down the hose pipe into the Death Star, and somehow just like that brought down the dragon Smaug in the Hobbit.
Okay, so I always grapple with this. How then do we reconcile between that peace of mind, that freedom, the willingness to sort of just be able to relax within our creativity, but also that we need to live and feed ourselves? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah,
and then I want to go into becoming nobody, because that segues so beautifully into what motivated you to do that.
Thank you. Well, and as I said, I'm only just me, but from where I see it, you have to. It was, I think Seth Rogen really said this really in a fun way recently, and you have to have a mixture of stuff you have to do to obviously pay the rent, and you need, no matter what you're doing to pay the rent, you have to commit to yourself at least, whatever, a day a week minimum to your dream. And if you do, then that will add up to 52 full days of work towards your thing by next year, that will move it along. You have to, and there are all kinds of voices in the head that will tell you not to do it and tell you why it's no point and everything. But it's, as this great interview I saw with Seth Rogen, he said, look, if you really do your best and you just keep at it and you might get a break. Usually you do get one break at least. I don't know anyone that just worked their ass off for a gift and then just nothing ever happened. Usually one, but anyway, um, yeah, I would say that everyone who works at it, get a break. But if you do work at it, there's a chance you might be able to live the dream. But if you don't carry on with it, you definitely won't. That's one thing you can be sure of. So you've got to choose between probably not and definitely not. And I choose probably not for all my projects.
So you're basically saying what the great Wayne Gretzky said, which is
Oh, he steals all my ideas, that guy.
he does. And of course, he said you miss what is it?
The
You miss
shots you don't take.
you miss the goal on 100% of the shots you don't take, which is basically that's.
Yeah, that's a nice, cool
I'm
way to
just
say
trying
it.
to, I have to inject some Canadianisms into everything we do, and
Thank you. No,
that
I'm going
was
to pass it. A lot of people over here, they wouldn't have heard that. I'm going to pass it off as my own till I get caught.
yes, exactly. So we're both Amy and I are in North America. So we are. You were talking about the golden calf. In the case of Donald Trump, we are worshiping the golden toilet, or in the case of people who are hoarding money, I guess we're worshiping the golden Tesla or something along those lines. The in reading from your website,
Hmm.
the first thing you mentioned is the importance of play.
Yes, very much so.
Well, we're
It's an
supposed to
equal
be,
toss-up between play and gentleness.
well, we're not supposed to. I mean, the United States in particular is guilty of never taking vacations and working on statutory holidays or bank holidays.
I
Why do
mean,
you
play is
think
a general
play?
attitude to life, not carving out a couple of weeks where you get to go and play.
Okay,
I
keep
mean,
going.
play is a general attitude you take to work with you every day, alert to opportunities for mischief, because mischief, when it's met with your beautiful, generous heart, creates all kinds of connection, lifts people's days, and you don't mind as a sacred fool yourself being low status in the joke for everyone to have a bit of a laugh and feel brightened up that day and not take it all so seriously and not take all the heaviness so heavily. It's a general code of conduct, playfulness and lightness. And actually, you get a lot more done, even if you're doing like Ramdas was had huge organizations doing operations for thousands of children who had cataracts or whatever. Um, they still did it with stupid noses on them, plastic Groucho Marx moustaches, like an attitude of playfulness is so much more efficient than a tight-assed, holy, pious attitude.
Okay, and I want to take it from there. Okay, you made the movie Becoming Nobody with Ram Dass, and he passed away. Did he pass away?
He
Yeah.
did, just as we released it.
Yes, yes. It was an amazing movie. I was so inspired, and
Oh,
I
I'm so
want to
glad. Thanks.
ask you what inspired you to do this, and specifically with Ram Dass teaching and life story. Like, what was it?
Ramdas represents everything I love about the spiritual path. Everything, not everything, but he absolutely represents the absolute core of what I believe and what I love, which is to be loving awareness, to be incredibly curious, to be incredibly diligent, but always with lightness, always with playfulness, always with sending yourself up and being camp with it and being ridiculous, always popping the holiness bubble wherever possible. So in even enjoying how ridiculous the ego is in that spiritual path is part of the spiritual path and an important part. And so unpretentious and so articulate. I mean, it was the mixture of that incredible kindness and incredible hilarity, but also the guy that whenever he says something, there's nowhere kind of deeper to go. He kind of like you say something and then your friend says something a bit deeper and then you say something a bit deeper and then Ramdas says his thing and it's like, oh, that kind of sums it up. Yep, there's not much I can add to that. He just goes, pow, he's so articulate. I love that. And yeah, I was just like incredibly lucky. He agreed to be in our first two One Giant Leap movies, One Giant Leap and What About Me? He was a small part with many, many other beautiful thinkers and souls. And then it just occurred to me I wasn't managing to finish the film I started about Gabrielle Roth, which was the same, a little bit like Becoming Nobody, but for Gabrielle Roth, like her, all her beauty, all her genius, all her best bits, all her, just a tribute movie to her. And for some reasons, that kind of had to stall for certain reasons I won't go into. But at that time, I was like, God, I really want to do. There's no Ramdas film where it really gets across how funny he is, how deep he's great in Fierce Grace. He's wonderful in it. He's wonderful in all the bits of the stuff I've seen him be in, but none of them get away his naughty, mischievous, like. And I was just like, we have to have the definitive Ramdas. They hate me when I say this, Ramdas greatest hits, but it is kind of like an excuse for all my favorite things to showcase about him, so that anyone that wants to be curious about him can go watch the film and go, oh my God, I get it. How fucking great is he?
Are you a religious person?
Not in the sense of believing in a God that thinks thoughts and makes choice, takes, as Amy says in The Big Bang Theory, takes attendance. But
Was was
I
Ramdas
believe in the
was
great
Ramdas
rigor
a
of
religious
wisdom and
person?
genius. Huh?
Was Ramdas a religious person?
He was more religious than me. He was he was a Hindu.
Yes, indeed. That's why
He didn't
I,
need anybody else to be. He just liked that lyricism. His teacher was a
yeah.
Hindu, so he liked that lyricism
But
and he liked that vocabulary, and it worked. All that, that was great for him. But he had no other. He was never thinking everyone else has to. The last thing he would think was that everyone else has to be into Hinduism too.
I mean, do you think "Be Here Now" is like a religious tome or something?
I don't see it like that. I mean, I just look at it as the assembled, translated thoughts from this incredible, beautiful, spiritual, and wise data from India, translated through this amazing Harvard professor of psychology, which is what Ramdas was, into language that we in the
Yeah.
West could get some sort of a grasp on. That's what it is. It's like like a Babel fish for a bunch of really amazing concepts that the West in 1969, when he wrote it, weren't really ready for, or hadn't
No.
hadn't really experienced yet. That's what I feel.
Yeah, as a deep thinker. But Jamie, what was a pivotal point for you in your life? Like, what were you like as a kid?
I was very curious as a kid. I remember having the experience of self-knowledge a lot and it confusing me, but every time I tried to talk to sort of our nanny about it or whatever, like no one kind of fully met me there. But I remember as a pre-10-year-old, prepubescent child, I remember thinking that I was thinking and thought, wow, I'm me. I'm in here. Here I am. I wonder if everyone else is having that experience too. I remember a real like sort of like wide-eyed moment as a small child around that. And then various things happen, but I think one of the things that mostly affected me was I had really extreme panic attacks when I was a late teenager, which were actually a flashback from something earlier that I'd forgotten about. And so I had to learn how to breathe and I had to learn certain things. And on that pathway of learning survival tips, basically, for, my body chemistry and my breathing and my terror and my fragility and my lack of really having any beliefs by that point. I didn't exactly have any, I just, I just found it very difficult to not, just be honest, just be say, I didn't like it to be in family gatherings where there were things you mustn't say. That kind of stuff used to make me
Yeah.
really claustrophobic. So the sacred fool is like that. The archetype of the sacred fool is like everyone goes, don't talk, don't, no one look at that elephant, no one mention the elephant, no one talk about the elephant, and then you and me walk in and we go, hey, who left this elephant here? And everybody goes, oh, Jamie. And that's what the sacred fool does, is like makes itself low status, but in order to bring everyone to authenticity and realness.
You just mentioned the magic word authenticity, discovering yourself as a child, as a young man. Did that contribute to that? And how important is it for us to feel that we are authentic, to believe we're authentic ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, that's funny that you use that phrasing to believe we're authentic because, from the science quarter and from a lot of people who write who I really respect, um, it appears like if you read like Dr. David Eagleman, if you've ever checked out that brain surgery guy, incredibly lyrical, beautiful philosophical, but neuro brain professor of some kind. That nearly all of our decision making comes from our unconscious mind, not from our front mind, not from, you thinking you're Kevin, you thinking you're Amy, I think I'm Jamie, and we make decisions. We don't make most of those decisions from that place. The unconscious mind has made 20 trillion computations for every one that our front mind has made. And then it serves us up a summary and it says, hey, door A is actually much more attractive than door B. So you and I, we go, oh, I think I'll choose door A. But that choice was actually made long before you and I, the personalities that we are, had anything to do with it. And it appears that we have lots of choice when really a huge amount of it, we have nothing to do with it. And we have nothing to do with most of our bodily choices. You don't have to get involved with your digestion. You don't go, carrots coming down. You don't have to get involved with
Well,
walking
at my
around.
age, you do actually.
Yeah, but Jamie, who's the unconscious mind then?
Well, it depends. The unconscious mind could just be a bunch of layers of computing that are going on for our survival that has nothing to do with spirit whatsoever. Could easily
Right,
be that. Or it could be baby Jesus and all his
right.
friends. Or it could be a mixture of the two, or it could be aliens seeded us with the greys and the whites, and they seeded, all the aliens came and then flew off and left us growing as a hybrid between them and the Neanderthals. Or it could be a bunch of
Mhm.
things. Not knowing isn't an important part of life, not deciding, because essentially, whatever one you choose, you're still going to come to the same conclusion that the only cool and enjoyable and satisfying way to live is to be generous and to allow yourself to receive and be curious about all the ways you're a fucking crazy lunatic and not be too sort of arrogant about it, but be willing to take other people's feedback when you're being an asshole. um, and
It's hard to live like that, though. Don't you feel you're going mad all the time? Like, don't you feel you're going mad, going, what the fuck? Because there's
actually, the
so
more
many
crazy it
masks.
gets, the more crazy it gets, and I don't want to be like aggressive to Donald Trump, but it over here we I know some people that fucking hate him, but above all, you just are the predominant feeling is bafflement and bewilderment. Seeing it from the outside, it's like how could
Yes.
anybody on any planet, we see movies, we know what the baddie looks like. This is the baddie that you've seen in every film. Why are you? He's not even charismatic. He's like this narcissistic, insecure bully. Everything that is kind of distasteful in all literature and filmmaking, which is like the clammy bully, the insecure narcissist, the sort of sexual incontinent, um, sort of
The predator.
abusing, dribbling, so racist, white kind of. I mean, it's actually bad writing. You couldn't. You couldn't have, if anyone invented this one, you go, oh no, that's just way over the top. Come on, you've got to make him a dimensional character. But what I don't understand is all the particularly, do all the women of America have Stockholm syndrome? Like a
That's a
large
great
amount,
question.
millions of women are voting for this person. What?
It's
And educated,
baffling.
educated women too. I want to take a bus across America just humbly, not even like, what are you doing? I don't want
This
to
is
be
your
like
next film,
about it.
Jamie. This is your next
I
film.
just need to know. Tell me why, how? Please, I'm listening. I need to know. Like, I reckon if I interview maybe like 500 people in a year, I think it would be amazing because obviously a big bunch of them are just fucking crazy. But you don't expect there to be 50 million who are fucking crazy. That's why I get someone like him, like it's a Stephen King book, could he's like something out of a Stephen King book, and he I could imagine like 5 million people for some reason because he's just weird and charismatic. But I don't understand how half. Is it because they've already chosen their team? Is it nothing to do with him? It's like, well, I've got a Republican, my granddaddy's a Republican. Is it because people have just like chosen their team, they're blue, they're not red, or they're red, they're not blue? And that's just half, always has been in the country, always will be. There's almost no undecideds who will actually show up and do anything. So it's nothing to do with Trump or Kamala. It's to do with I'm in the red team. No, I'm in the blue team. That's maybe what it is. That's the only answer I can
Well,
find to what I
what
can see going on. It must be pre-decided that they're going to be the Blues and they're going to be the Reds. It can't, no one can seriously want this person.
what about
Sorry.
anger? People feel that they've been left out, they've been left behind. They don't have as much money as you were talking about earlier, even
Yeah,
though
exactly.
reports
Eat
show
the
that
rich.
actually do.
Eat the
Someone
rich.
else, well,
You have to have a rule that says no one is allowed to personally own or control more than 2 billion. If you can't make your life happy with two fucking $1,000 million, we will pay for your therapy. We will name a dog park after you, no problem. But you're taking everything you've got above 2 billion away because of the other rest of the planet need it to actually have clean water and a general fair standard of living. You've done very well, but it's just a token system. You've got your 2 billion, you can
well,
have as
that,
many
and that,
chalets and helicopters as you like. And if you've got a problem with us taking the rest, then we're going to pay for your therapy as well.
And
but that also that describes the UK as well as the United States. I mean,
Oh yes.
outside of
I'm not
London,
just limiting. It's the whole world is in unregulated
I mean,
capitalism.
outside of London is a different country.
Okay. I'm just saying, but when I'm talking about this, I'm not just singling out America. I'm saying the
Oh,
whole
I see.
planet is in
I
worship
have
of
been.
quick
That's
money.
why I have been singling it out. That's why I was feeling guilty, and I got to bring it back to the thing
No,
so
it's
and
the
blame
human race.
others
It's
like
like
you. So it's also
we're
your fault.
so scarcity addicted that it creates the worship of quick money, makes that possible.
Hmm.
And if we could educate people to not be so like glorifying of the suffering and the scarcity and be so committed. And I'm not saying everyone, there are tons of people, it's easy from my white male privilege to say, let them eat cake. I'm sure if everyone just had a better attitude, it would all just be delightful. But there is a way to make sure, while allowing all the rich people to still have chalets and helicopters, they can still all have as many chalets and helicopters as they need. And there's still enough money, a lot of billions left over to just mend the schools and the hospitals. Not even, I'm not asking for orchards down the side of the fucking street, just saying the very, very basics of clean water and food and education could do it without even putting the smallest scratch in the mountain of gold of the rich people. That's why it's so weird. When they control billions and everything, they could sort out the whole of the poverty issue of children and food and education and elders, with not that much. It wouldn't cost them. And it wouldn't even make a little scratch. Why would someone not do it? I always think about that with the Queen of England when she was alive. It's like you control that much money. So much of the biggest property in London, Piccadilly, Leicester Square, Regent Street, Oxford Street, is owned by the Crown. Just the rent from that alone is probably like 1 billion a year, easily.
so
Easily.
Jamie,
Channel all that to your subjects.
how do we then, okay, we talk about, because you talk about removing your masks and so does Ram Dass, like how, give me one way in which we can remove a layer. Like how do we do it as a human, as
Okay, I
humans?
would say I start a lot of people off this way. If it's just as a new idea, if you want one radically changing, efficient thing to do that everyone can do, is for, let's say, 2 weeks, be incredibly diligently noticing your self-talk. Just do that. It will be, you can't, there's certain decisions you have to make after you really hear your self-talk for 2 weeks, and the inner critic and the slave driver and the insecurity and the self-loathing and the fantasies you have to kind of look sheepishly at the sky and just sort of like, okay, you have to like, okay, take me now, Lord, take me now. You have to sort of like surrender at that point,
Like what?
So just have a
That's
just
good. That's a good
spend 2 weeks
tip.
looking at it and then come and talk to me and tell me that
All
you think,
right. That's fair.
yeah, yeah.
We every week we end the show with the same question, and we've kind of arrived at the end of the show, and I think it's a good segue into the question after what we've discussed. Why do you believe in people?
Just want to make sure that I do before I answer that question.
I know there are days.
He's buying time.
I don't necessarily always. I mean, I think a lot about, I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but this is where my brain has gone. I think a lot about the Second World War. I like reading a lot of the fictional and non-fictional literature and things that are set in the time of both the Great Wars. And I'm from Jewish heritage. I'm not religious in Judaism at all. I kind of like all the stories and the stuff because I had it as a little boy in the Passover and the Rosh Hashanah. I liked it. I've loved the lyricism of all that stuff, and especially the stories. So I've kind of always like loved that literature. I love reading, and it always amazes me when I think about this. I don't know why I'm so drawn to it, but I think partly is because it always amazes me that but for two things that randomly happened, it could have totally gone the other way. Like, and I wouldn't be here, but that's not where I go with it. Oh, I wouldn't be here. I don't give a fuck. Just like how different life on this planet would have been had it gone the other way. And it was but for two little things. One, somehow, and that was against the odds, somehow Winston Churchill persuaded the American president to enter the war. And that guy had to really, that was a mad thing to happen because there weren't that many American people who were like, yeah, let's go and send all our kids to die somewhere we've never heard of. You know what I mean? Like it was a big move, big and weird that it happened. Could so easily not have happened. More easily not have happened in a way. Like it's weird that it happened. So there's that. And the other thing was that Hitler decided to invade Russia in the winter. Like he could have just stopped and everyone like pitch their tents, eat some stew, rest, recuperate through the winter, build up their numbers, and then walk straight into Russia. Goodbye, good night. Just on the day that he was just feeling, I don't know whether he just had good sex with Eva Braun or whatever. On that day, he said, "No, fuck it, let's just go for it. Let's just go into winter of Russia and just fucking take those cunts out before Christmas." Again, it could have been a fleeting decision. I'm sure it was, because anyone who'd sit and think would go, look, why would we do that? That would be how to guarantee, just wait a few months, 3 months. Let's all just party. But for those two weird decisions, and I don't know why I think about that, but like, I kind of believe that our stories are coming from our DNA somehow, the shape of the stories we watch in movies. And for some reason, we need the drama for it to be. There's always a step in the step by step of a story where just before the end, it looks like all is lost. That's an important part of the hero's journey or the stories that they teach you, that hardback book story, how to write for movies, all that stuff. And then in the final reel, the cavalry unexpectedly from a direction you weren't expecting rides in and saves the day one way or another, whether it be Moana, whatever. That's what happens. So that's why my political organization is called the Cavalry. And we are entering the last reel where we turn it around. And it's like everyone thought it was impossible, but unbelievably, da, 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 da. And that's why there's more souls alive on the planet right now than have ever been alive added up. So everyone is here for Planet Earth series finale, where the cavalry will come in. It's quite obvious to me.
Well, I
Someone
think that's
saved the day.
encouraging.
So I do believe in people. I believe in the cavalry. I believe we're going to turn it around. We're not taking all the pessimism. You're not taking into account every other time this has happened. We fucking sorted it out. Somehow life won.
Thanks, Jamie. All right, we're gonna leave. We're gonna ponder that one. I
Well,
appreciate
We'll all be
we're
dead.
gonna we're gonna fucking sort this out, Jamie.
it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Well, that was kind of challenging and insightful, and perhaps that's what insightful things are, challenging. So there you go. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah, I appreciate Jamie's point of view and different way of thinking. Because I like different perspectives, and I think that let's do it. Let's do the 2-week challenge, everyone. So be really super mindful of what you're thinking for 2 weeks. Whoa, that's a lot of information. I think
Well,
in our
I'm going to
brain.
do it. I'll do it only if Jamie agrees to do it too.
I think he already
Thanks.
has.
And if you want to come back and next week, why not subscribe to Believe in People, or find us again next week wherever you find your podcasts.
Thanks, everyone.